Hey everyone, I hope all of you had a good Easter break. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to do a volumetric analysis in Civil 3D. Now for this exercise, this is the result that we're going to achieve. But before we begin, I want to thank the new members that joined the channel, Dorothea Tumeli. I don't know how to read the Slavic alphabet, but thank you for your support. Seri Metcalfe, Ian Black, Eduardo Silvino, Carol Collins, and Carthy P. Thank you guys for becoming members on the YouTube channel. I really appreciate your support, and yeah, this makes me really happy every time I see a new member coming in. I was like, I just keep jumping. But yeah, thank you very much. In this exercise, we're gonna need two stuff that you guys need to prepare before if you wanna follow along. So you will need your two surfaces that you're gonna compare. In my case, I already have prepared my surfaces under the formation surfaces, and they've already been data shortcutted. Now, if you don't know how to do data shortcut, I made a video about it, so you can watch that one and you can then jump along. The cut and fill exercise is basically done to advise the client how much they need to cut or fill the site, basically how much he's gonna dig and how much material he needs to bring in. And it's usually done between the existing ground and the proposed. So in my case, I've got two surfaces, the existing and the proposed. So let's data shortcut both of them. Now a little tip is you can control select two surfaces, right click, create reference. You'll bring both of them in as the default surface style that you have. But I'm gonna select the existing, make sure it's a border, and then the proposed, I'm just gonna turn it off because I don't want to see them. Before I continue any further, I've been receiving quite a few comments that I speak too fast, so I'm gonna make a conscious effort to speak slowly. So if I speak too fast, let me know in the comments below. How do I do the volumetric analysis? It's pretty straightforward. In the Analyze tab, just click on Volumes Dashboard, and then this window or panel will appear. I'm gonna untick this one so I can show you what it is. So basically we've got the first button, which is the net graph panel. So if you toggle it, you can see a nice visual of the cut and fill for the total of them. Then you can add a volume surface. So if you already have one in your project, in our case we don't, we can add it back. Then we can create a new volume surface, which is what we're interested in. So and the others are like, I think add boundary, delete, refresh, create the report in HTML, and then add the text of the report on your CAD drawing, which we'll revisit later on in the video. For the first part of the video, I'm going to show you how to do this, and then the second part will be the labeling, the styles, and some tips and tricks I've learned throughout the 3, 4, 5, 6 years working as a civil engineer. So I'm going to click on Create New Volume Surface. Now this window will appear, and in the information group, we're going to give it a name. I'm going to call it Earthworks. In the description, usually you describe what you're comparing, and also I like to put the versions of the surfaces I used. Proposed V1 versus existing V1. Then in the styles, I'm going to leave it as blank. So because not all of you have installed UKIE, so I'm just gonna keep this blank with you guys so we can go through the process of setting it up together. I'm gonna select a dark green just for the sake. Actually, let's do orange. CTS is orange. Volume surfaces. So the base surface is the surface that you're starting from. So if you think about it, if you have a site and you want to build something, you're gonna start digging or filling from that site. So in most cases, your base surface will be the existing. And in my case, I've got the formation FM, formation model, existing no mount, minus 50 mil describes the strip. And having the description, and I haven't done in this one, is very helpful because then it can give a little history or like a background for the surface so you can understand which surface is what. Now the comparison surface, in my case, will be the FM proposed. And then the cut and fill factor are basically factors. So the cut factor, for example, is usually known in UK as the bulk factor. So basically when you dig, the volume that you dig will always be more. So if you dig 100 cubes on paper, you will end up having with 120 cubes. For example, from a quick Google search, clay and gravel or pit, I'm not sure, remember, but clay was like 1.15. So basically for every 100 clay cubes you dig, you are left with 115 actually volume of clay. As a consultant, I always use factor of 1 and as stated in my notes and drawings. However, if you want to allow for a bulk factor, this is where you can put it, and don't worry, you can tweak it later on in the cut and fill factor here. But a good way that I use those is if I want to ignore the cut, I just turn this one to a 0. So basically I don't have to worry about the cut. In our exercise, we're going to keep both of them as 1. And then we're going to hit OK. And you can see now the net graph has been updated and it shows me that I'm on 9,360 fill. And the cut is 7,700 and the fill is 1,700. Let me just move a slide on the side. If I select this one, you can see that there is a blue line boundary now, and this disappears as soon as I hit this button, and that's basically showing which surface I'm looking at. I'm gonna turn off the border of the existing by changing the styles to no display. Let's create a surface style for our cut and fill analysis. So I'm gonna select it and then right click surface properties, and then all I'm gonna do is just go to create new. Now I'm gonna create a couple of styles. So the first one, I'm gonna call it Earthworks Isopachytes. I don't care about the contours, I care about the analysis. So basically, the isopachytes is solid hatches, and I've shown a picture at the beginning of this video. Let me bring it back up again. So basically, you've got the solid hatches, which are the isopachytes, and then we've got the contours, which will create a different surface style for it. The isopachytes fall under the elevation analysis. Now, you can create ranges through different ways, and I use number of ranges usually, and then the color scheme, I usually select rainbow. Now, if I change this one to range interval with datum, it gives you the option for the above datum color to be green and below datum color to be red. So basically, if you set your datum as 0, anything above it will be green, anything below it will be red. Now, this is all good, but the problem is I cannot flip them from light gray to light red to dark red, and it's very annoying. But in my case, I'm gonna keep it as a number of ranges. I want 10 ranges and I want the precision to be 0.01. Now in the legend style, I'm gonna leave it as standard because that's what you all have. So I'm gonna hit OK. And then in the display, I'm gonna untick my border because I hate seeing borders. And then I'm gonna select the elevations. Now you can see they're on layer 0, so you can create another layer, add some transparency to it. So you can create a new layer and call it, I don't know, layer Isopachytes. And then what we can do is hit OK and then add some transparency to the layer, because sometimes you might want to show the site layout. But usually I put the Isopachytes at the bottom and then the proposed site layout, the architect's drawing on top. I'm gonna hit apply, OK, and then apply. So you can see immediately, I can see some colors, which is perfect, but I don't understand what they are. So let's go to the analysis tab. Now in here, I'm analyzing the elevation, as I said. And the ranges, you can see I've got number of ranges 8. Now this shouldn't have been the case, it should have been 10. So I'm just gonna change it to 10 and then click on run analysis. You can see now it shows me an analysis, the minimum elevation to the maximum, and just shows me ranges like from minus 2.8 meters all the way to half meter. So basically, if I'm digging between the range of half meter to minus 2.8, it will be red. If I'm filling from 100 mil and digging all the way to 0.05, it will be light green. Obviously, I want to tweak this slightly so it can be more clear where you're digging and filling. But before we do that, I'm going to show you the red and green that I talked briefly a few minutes ago. So datum is 0. Let's do it every half a meter and then run the analysis. You can see anything above the 0 is green and anything below the 0 is red. The problem is, this is all well and good, but I want to flip the colors. I want the lighter colors to be like, you know, lighter cut, and the darker is like more, if that makes sense. But in my case, I'm gonna leave it as number of ranges, run the analysis. So the way I fix it is I go to the middle, 5, which I think is 5, yeah it is, and then I start from my balance band. So basically from minus 0.05 to 0.05. Some people can do minus 100 to 100, that's absolutely fine. And I'm gonna give it a color blue. If I hit apply, you can see that start taking shape, but not quite yet. So let's go up. So from 0.05. So now I'm going to change this one to 0.05 to, let's say, 250. Then this one 250 to 500, and then 500 to 750, 750 to 1 and then 1 to 1.6. So if I hit apply, you can see that this is roughly my balance, but you need to bear in mind that 4 mil are absent, and I'm not sure if we can spot them from here. So let's fix the colors. So fill I usually associate with green. I'm gonna start from 81, and then all I'm gonna do is just going up. So I just go from I pick that row and go up basically. I found it to be quite easy, stress-free. I don't have to worry which color to select. And then we'll do the same for the yellow. So I'm just going to fix that to minus 0.5 to minus 250, minus 250 to minus 0.5. You get the idea. Then minus 0.5, I'm going to do here minus 1. And then minus 1 to 2.89. And then again, I'm going to start from yellow, and then I'm just going to make this one dark red. I think that looks good enough. So I can see straight away where my cut is, where my fill is, very clearly. So I'm going to hit OK. The first step is done. Basically, I've got the isopachytes. The next step is to show that information. So I'm going to select the surface and then go to the volume dashboard here. And then I need to put that text somewhere. So all I'm gonna do is hit this insert cut and fill summary and basically bring the text here. Now if I did the HTML, it's just different presentation, if you may. Tells you when it was generated, the user, the drawing, so it gives you some extra information. And you can PDF this one obviously. If I untick this here and then run the insert cut and fill text, it will not show anything. So this comes in handy when you have multiple surfaces and you want to find the total net for all the surfaces, which is quite handy. But in my case, this is where I'm gonna leave it. So I'm done with this one. So I've got my total numbers here. So now I want to tell the user what he's looking at, like what is this red? Now, one way to do it is by adding spot levels. Another way is to add contours. Another way is to add grid spot levels. Another way is to just add a table. So we're gonna review the table first. So I'm gonna select the surface, and then in the tint volume surface tab that is created, I'm gonna hit add legend, elevations, and then I have between dynamic and static option. Now the dynamic one is slightly buggy. It does not update automatically. You have to do a certain step to update it. So I'm just gonna click dynamic and place it here. And you can see it's an ugly table. So we're gonna go very quickly to fix it. We're gonna go too much detail. So I'm just gonna select it, go to table properties. We're gonna create a new one, and I'm just gonna call it levels, color, and volume. Actually, levels and volume, because color is already mentioned. It's like I have to have the color. So in the data properties, I've got the elevations table and I've got some columns. So I'm just gonna change this one. You can double click on it and just do min, for example, and then max. Now I think the term elevation is slightly not very clear, but I can live with that. Now I'm gonna add a new column. Just expand, let's expand our table a tiny bit. Double click on here, just gonna type volume and hit OK. Now in here, in the column value, I'm gonna double click here, and then you can see here we've got some format options. So in my case, I want it to be centered, and then we've got some properties. So we've got the comma, digit, sign, but then we've got some properties for the surface, and I want the surface range volume. So click on that, and then you can see some additional options like rounding, decimal characters, etc., cubic meter, and then you can click this arrow here, and basically it puts in their surface range volume, and then all these are codes that reflect all this. P3 I think is the precision, so 3 digits. So if I did it P2, it would be 2. So if I do it like this and put it in, see, it becomes P2. So there is some logic behind all these letters. I'm gonna hit OK. Now in the display, I'm gonna fix everything by turning everything hopefully into white, and then the header, data, text, and title, gonna make it, let's say, an orange, and hit apply, and let's hit OK and see, and OK. Okay, that is not exactly what I wanted, so let's fix it one more time.
A few moments later.
Perfect. So now we've got this table. Now I want to create another table, which leads me to my next point about the tips and tricks towards the end. I'm just going to create another table. So I'm just going to go copy current selection, and then I'm just going to add volumes and area. So let's add our area in this case. So area, and double click here, and let's add the 2D area, square meters, yes. And then let's add the volume. Let's add another one and call it volume. It's not that hard. It just takes time. So once you've set it up, you can keep using these drawings for everything else, if that makes sense. So hit the arrow, okay. Let's fix the format. Oops. Let's fix the format slightly so it is centered. Apply and okay. There we go. So now we've got the area and volume. I'm gonna put another table, elevations, dynamic. I'm just gonna put it down there. I'm gonna change the properties to just area and level and volumes. Okay, perfect. So now I've got my table, this, and that's perfect. So now I'm gonna save this one. The question is, where do you save this? Now, because I'm gonna use this as an extra, I'm gonna save it in my extra folder, and I'm gonna call it X Earthworks Isopachytes. I'm gonna add in brackets main because that's where all the volume informations are. Now, the reason I called it also main is because Civils 3D has a little bug that has not been resolved of yet. And that is, if I create a data shortcut of that surface, and just let's put a pause now. So basically, some people do their cut and fill in their main drawing, and they might extract that one, that's all good. Or sometimes they create a data shortcut for the earthworks that we just did now, create a new drawing, let's delete all the stuff. They bring the surface in, they use the surface analysis, so let's say that's that. And then when they come and bring the tables, I'm gonna put the table here. I'm gonna change the style to volumes. Don't worry if it doesn't look the same. And we're gonna hit the pause because right now I don't wanna redo what I've done here in setting up the colors. So in UK, we have this UKIE package that you can, once installed, it has some useful stuff. So in the tool space, in the toolbox, in UK and Ireland reports, additional tools, you can export a surface analysis, and you can right click execute. It will prompt you to select the surface, and then it will ask you to save it somewhere. In my case, I'm gonna save it on the new job in the Civils 3D folder. Hit save. Now, if I go to drawing 6, which is my same surface, I can import the surface analysis, right click execute, select the surface. I'm gonna select the file that I just saved, which is a txt file. And actually that txt file, all it has is just, it's a table that has the color, min elevation, max elevation. That's all it is. I'm gonna hit open. Now, remember I told you the dynamic table doesn't update automatically? It updated, added these, but the numbers did not update. So one way to update it is, that I found at least, select the surface, go to add legend, elevations, dynamic, and then hit escape. It automatically updates. Now there is a little problem. I'm gonna screenshot this. Now I want this to stay on top. Now I've got this Power Toys tool, which is very handy because it has a lot of functions like crop and lock. Always on top is a nice handy one. Windows Control T. So if I select the surface, Windows Control T, now it will always stay on top. So you can see I can stay in my CAD and not worry, and I can keep looking at that. I'm gonna go to this one and let's review the volumes. So you can see the areas are correct, but the volumes, they start off correctly, but as soon as they reach the cut range, they start going berserk. It's just nuts. So that is why I don't use tables for data shortcutted volumetric surfaces. That's a long way to explain it. Basically, the DWG that you created your volumes dashboard, so basically this, the DWG that you can view these numbers here, is the DWG that should have your tables in, because these will be the correct ones. Because A, in here, if you go to volumes dashboard, there is nothing because it's just a data shortcut surface. And B, your volumes are wrong, but the presentation information is correct. Okay? So that is one tip and thing to bear in mind. So now I've got this drawing, that's all perfect, and I want to create the contours bit. So let's say I want to show the contours. So I'm gonna go here, and then I'm gonna right click edit surface style, and I'm gonna create a new, let's go to surface properties and let's create a new surface. I'm gonna call it cut and fill contours. In the contours tab, obviously, because we're dealing with contours, in the contour ranges, I'm gonna select it to 3. As soon as you click 3, you can see 3 contours here. You've got the first one, which is red, convenient, and then the second one is green. I want the second one to be my balance, so I'm gonna select the minor major like to be a light blue and a dark blue, just like, you know, to represent. And let's do this one as red. There you go. And then the fill will be a green with a dark green, which is already selected. Perfect. Now the precision, obviously I want it to be 3-digit precision, and then use color scheme true. And then in the display, just tick the major and minor contours, and then the user contours, just in case, because I'm not sure. I think it's the user contours, but tick major, minor contours just in case. So hit OK, and then hit OK. Now you can see this is what we're looking at. So if I go to surface properties, analysis, and then switch to contours and hit these 3, you can see you've got the contours, and all we have to do is just adjust the bands. I think these are called bands, the range details, so they can be reflective of where I want my balance to start. So if I hit apply and OK, it doesn't show, and I think that is because I actually do have to change the edit surface style to show not user contours. I hit apply. Is it still not showing? Should be showing. I did a boo-boo. I think it should be major and minor contours. Oh, of course. So in the edit surface style, I forgot to do the interval. The interval is every 2 meters. There we go. Now it's much better. And let's fix our color range. And let's make it blue. No, we said green for this one. No, yeah, blue for the fill. No, we said green for the fill, yes. So the middle one needs to be the blue one. Apologies. I do mess sometimes as well. I'm only human, right? Hit apply and OK. So now if I select this and go to surface properties and then go to contours, you can see this one says purple. But if I hit 3 again, now it's got fixed because my styles have been correct. So now if I hit OK, you can see I can tell like where I'm cutting, where I'm filling, and then all you can do is select your surface, add labels, contour multiples, and you can just add your contours. Now obviously if your contours overlap like this, you can always select your contours and just in the properties untick the minor, say display minor contour to false, and it'll show the minor. And sometimes might not be enough. But if I change my scale to what I'm going to be looking at, it says 1 to 500, maybe I'll adjust it slightly or just do it individually. So this is another way that we can show the contours. And the reason I do the contours separately and not on the same drawing as the isopachytes, that is because the way I do my drawings is isopachytes at the bottom, propose site layout on top, and then contours or spot levels at the top. So let's create our spot levels and grid levels. So we're gonna hit new surface. I'm gonna delete my template that gets created every time. Create reference of the earthworks. I'm gonna just use a border just so I can know where it is. And then select the surface, add labels, spot elevation on grid, select the base point. Rotation is 0. Spacing, I found 10 works for me and 10 for the Y. And then the top right corner, hit enter, and then I'm gonna fix the scale. I'm gonna PDF it at 1 in 500, and you can see that I can see now I'm gonna turn off the border. You can see I can see my grid levels. Now if I hit save and just name it grid levels, it depends how you do it in your company. Maybe you don't do grid levels, I don't know. All I'm saying is there's different ways of showing the information, or as my boss says, there's different ways to skin a cat. I don't know if that's an English saying. So let's bring it as an overlay of always and hit OK. And you can see now, you can see the spot level. So red says minus 5.64. So if I go here, it's minus 5 to -1. That's pretty bang on. So yeah, that is how you do the cut and fill exercise. So you've got the contour styles. You can always obviously use the contours single. So you just just select the ones that you want to show. Then you can do this grid levels. I usually combine these two. So grids with isopachytes, I think it looks very good with obviously the table. But remember, bear in mind, the table needs to be on the same drawing as your surface. Now in the volumes dashboard, let's say you by accident removed this, like you deleted this. Your surface did not go away. It's no longer in the volumes dashboard. So you can add it by clicking on this, and then it's there, and you can just hit add and add it again. So yeah, I hope you find this tutorial useful. If you liked it, hit the like button. If you loved it, share it with your colleagues so they will stop bugging you on how to do things. But I should warn you, you should always try to teach people, because then you learn how to do things better. And I'll see you in the next tutorial.